I have a steak marinating for my birthday, so that's what I'm grilling here after this.
Jay, you pressed the button before I could load the picture.
Speaking of, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Papa Joe. Happy birthday to you.
I'm letting him sing because, if I sang, everybody would like roar.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Joe.
Happy birthday, Joe. How you feeling?
Good, yeah. Old, but good.
Old?
You don't look a day over 45.
Oh, thank you.
Aw.
I'm
I'm a couple years over 45, but
going to say, I'm not going to.
Nope.
I'm not including it because I'm probably the oldest one on this call.
But you look so young, and look at that fancy shirt. Holy smokes, that shirt's actually a little revealing. Whoa. Holy cow. Well, it's not as bad as what I did, and I'm not going to share the picture with you guys because it's a little extreme even for me. I ordered a teal, tiny man thong to wear to a hot tub party we got invited to, as a funny gag thing. Only it came in, it was made in China, and it was the largest size. Only the largest size, apparently for this company, is quite a bit smaller than my waist size. So I'm trying to get this on, and Heather's like, it's not supposed to be cutting off your circulation. I don't think that's gonna work.
We need pictures. I demand pictures.
Oh, I've got a great picture on my phone, but I don't know if I'm gonna send you that one. Maybe to Joe for his birthday.
wow.
Yes, as you're singing "Happy Birthday, Mr. Godfather."
Oh yes. I should have done it that Happy Birthday, Mr. President style. Well, and then this is my birthday cake for Joe that I'm going to eat for him. Little homemade cinnamon roll. That should be good.
I'll go ahead and psychosomatically feel it. How about that?
There you go.
I like it. And I do apologize, everyone, for the weird color on my screen today. I was telling these guys that my monitor blew up yesterday, so I'm using an iPad and I don't know how to adjust the color on an iPad. So
I changed my coloring just a little bit so he would feel better.
I appreciate that. I really do. Aw, Rebecca. Well, it's kind of nice that even on here I can still see the comments and everything, so that's nice.
Good.
Rebecca, we already sang. You missed it.
She missed it.
Yeah, well, Jay sang beautifully, by the way.
Yeah,
I agree.
Thank you. Yes. Did everybody watch the season finale of The Mandalorian yet?
I did.
You did? Joe, you didn't? Damn it.
No.
I can't talk about it.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. It's way too soon for spoilers. I had to quick watch it because I was like, no, somebody's going to F this up for me.
It was very entertaining, and they hit the note I think they wanted to very well.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm still scarred from the season finale of Supernatural.
I never got into that series.
What? You've never watched it, Katie, or you just couldn't get into it?
I never got into it. I tried.
Okay.
And then people said, "Oh, don't worry about the first season. Start on the second season." I was like, "Okay." I started the second season. I couldn't click with it.
I tried too, and I'm like, man, you need more than two attractive, snarky guys to make a show actually a show. It just didn't work for me.
It's got such a huge following too. Like I should have liked it. I should have. I don't know why I didn't click with it.
Well, I'm one of the old timers who used to like Kojak and Night Stalker. So this was, very much reminiscent of that in the beginning.
I loved Night Stalker. Night Stalker was awesome.
Yes. So it clicked with me. Plus,
See,
they are nice to look at.
They are very nice to look at, yes. Yeah. And I used to love shows like the Dresden Files did a show back in the 90s. Mm-hmm. Forever Night, the old police procedural vampire show. Absolutely loved that one.
Which one was that?
Which what?
Which one was that?
Forever Night.
Okay, I never saw that one.
That's old. I loved those. They're cheesy as hell, but I loved them. Mm-hmm. So I should have liked that show. I don't know why I didn't.
Were you an Angel fan?
I liked Buffy, and I watched Angel, but I didn't like it as much as Buffy.
Yeah, Buffy kind of jumped the shark for me about halfway through the season.
I know it's Forever Night. Yes. Sorry, Buffy jumped the shark for you.
Yeah, about halfway through. I mean, I think spoilers are okay at this point, right? Everybody's but when she dies and comes back, I was like, okay, I'm done. It's just stupid. It's just so stupid. I mean, after that, I was like, whatever.
Well, you know what one I really liked. Heather and I really liked Bones. That one with I mean, and it was just kind of a fun. Yeah, it was a really cool show, and it went on for a lot of seasons, and after a while I start to lose interest in those. But what I love the most about it is there was always a sense of adventure, and there was always some kind of science, and those are like the two things that I really love seeing in it.
The problem with those shows for me is very similar to Castle, in that you had this love dynamic that was like this sexual tension that never came into fruition, and then because you knew that's where it was headed, and then when it got there, again, the same thing with Buffy. Once it got there and they were in relationships and stuff like that, I was done. It's not even worth it to me anymore, because I thought that was the best dynamic of the whole shows, was that idea.
Yep.
But then when they're all girlfriend and boyfriend and they're all lovey-dovey, I'm like, eh. Yeah. It doesn't have the same edge.
It takes and the funny thing is that
so good, everybody died.
Well, and it's just the romantic and antagonistic relationship between Booth and Bones really was the show. That was the show's conflict. It was the murder mysteries were just stuff that was thrown in there. So once you took away the main conflict, it's like, oh well, yeah, okay, that's done. Kind of like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You and I have talked about this. It's definitely my favorite. Just chill out and relax show. But once Jake and Amy are getting married, and then it's like, oh crap, now they're gonna have kids. This is gonna be like Friends, and Jesus, I'm just over it. Like, nope. I like those first few seasons when there's still all the fun tension between people.
I just watched earlier today. I think is it the very first episode? I'm not even sure. It's one of the very first ones. The opening scene where he has the lineup sing the Backstreet Boys. I think that's the very first episode, is it not?
I don't know if it's the first episode. It's early on in the series, but yeah, I saw that video today too. It was fantastic. It was so good.
Oh, by the way, there's a murder to solve. Oh yeah, there's that too.
That's the one that murdered my brother. Oh my God. Oh, good.
Yeah, that show. He has great comedic timing, so it's very.
He really does. Cool. Did you watch? What was the movie that came out earlier this year that he did?
I haven't seen that. No, I know what you're talking about, but I hadn't seen that. Yeah,
it's on
Hulu. Was he playing something very similar in that respect?
To me, his character is always his character.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a tough time not seeing him as that, but it was actually really enjoyable. I think it was Palm Springs or something like that. But if you like comedies, it's a good one.
That was that Groundhog Day style movie.
Yes, you got it. Exactly.
For me, him and Justin Timberlake doing "Dick in a Box," and then the subsequent ones after that. Those are always my favorite things that he's done.
And that's the thing about JT. I mean, he's really freaking funny.
Yeah.
He's a funny dude. He was perfect for that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
He's mega star, but he's pretty cool. Gosh, I just started my librarian friend Abby, who Katie knows. Abby is a sweetheart, love her. She wants to start a podcast. Okay. It's kind of like a book club podcast where the host would read a book and then they chat about the book, just a little half-hour show, which sounds fun and cute. But she wants me to do it with her, which
Mm.
is nice because I love Abby and obviously I have experience doing podcasts. It's like, man, there's so much work at the same time, and the reading podcasts are tons of work because you got to read all these books. But she wants to do Mexican Gothic, which was one of the top books of the year. And so I just started reading that a day or two ago, and already it's excellent, and it's so different from most fiction that I read because I do read a lot of actiony thriller adventure type stuff,
Mhm.
and typically in those books the focus is more on the plot and less on creating beautiful words. In this book, definitely you can tell. I mean, it's like you're sliding into a different era reading it, but so it's kind of fun. So I think it might be a cool adventure. But I am letting Abby take as much of the lead on doing the work for this as possible so that she can see that it is a lot of work. Maybe she doesn't want to do it. Maybe she does. We'll find out. But so I
It
maybe
really depends on your reading speed, whether or not you can do a lot of them and with regularity, because that's the key when doing any kind of like podcast or show is having regularity so that your viewers, your listeners all know when to expect that next episode.
Yeah.
and that's why I stopped doing the Raven. Is I couldn't do it with any regularity. I couldn't do it in a timely manner. I was like, oh, it's just not going to work, and it's a bummer because it was
It
it
was
was actually getting a decent following on Apple Podcasts and stuff. So
Yeah, I did a show very similar called Fandom Forum, and imagine trying to get one person to read the book, myself, but then to get four other people to read it, and so that just became. I try to find, I'm really hopeful that the authors would have helped me out and tried to find some people, but apparently one of the things that indies lack is an awareness that they have fans. So I ended up doing all the work and finding most. I mean, there's been a couple where they found it for me, which I appreciated, but I ended up, either getting people who I know would read it really fast and get involved, or somebody that I know has already read it, and then getting them to be on camera, and it's that show is a ton of work, and then I have to read the book, or I got to the point where like I was doing series, and so I just asked the author if they had cliff notes or if they had like a Bible or something that I could just go through and figure out and then I asked them what questions they wanted me to ask, and so I mean I figured it out, but I can't imagine reading weekly and then talking about it. That to me I would probably keel over.
well,
Yeah.
and think about who's it? Jim Christina? Is that LA Talk Radio?
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember the actual name. Writer's Block.
Yeah.
Writer's block.
Yeah,
Yes.
Writer's Block. And that's a weekly show, isn't it? And
Yeah.
they both read the whole book every week. Holy crap! I mean, you're dedicating a lot of your time.
Well,
To
a
this
lot of their
project.
shows though sometimes doesn't involve the book. They do author shows too where they talk about author stuff. So, but yeah, I see what you're saying. It's crazy. I mean, because some of these books, man, 600, 700 pages, and like especially the kind of crowd that he's garnering with the fantasy element, and oh man, I would die. I would just keel over, because some of these books you could tell they're first time authors, or they're into like super high fantasy or super, the sci-fi ones, with all of the jargon, and oh man, I would just, yeah, you would see me in a corner, in the
And
fetal position.
that's what stumped me too. That was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for the Raven was that because I had a contract to do one show a week, and I was given a manuscript for a book. I won't say what it is or who it was by, but it was high fantasy. and I know it was a first-time author, and it was very problematic,
Yeah.
and it was like 150,000 words. And I was like, it's not going to happen. It's
Yeah.
just not going to happen.
150,000 is a lot to read.
Yeah,
First time
yeah,
author.
you gotta put your foot down at some point.
Yes.
You know, Rebecca has a good point. What she just said, having fans and having fans who've read your book is totally different.
Yes.
I agree. And
Can be.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And
Well,
if any of
you
you
know,
are,
It'd be nice to be both, but
you know, if you're looking for a template on who does great shows and how to run them, let me tell you about our first sponsor over here, because he's
We
the
have
man
sponsors?
who's been doing it
That
for
guy
quite a
does
while,
shit.
and he knows how to run some shows. So let's hear from him.
Hello, everybody. I am Joe Compton, and welcome to our channel, Go Indie Now. This is the place that celebrates indie artists and indie art, and we do so by producing several shows that either air on daily, weekly, monthly, or seasonal scheduling. And within those shows, we aim to educate and entertain you. If you're an indie artist who's trying to figure out how to do this, this is the place you need to be. If you're an indie artist who's looking to promote and doesn't have any avenues and is tired of the grind, this is the place to be. Because remember, it's always time to go indie now.
Like I said, he knows what he's doing.
I have my moments.
You've been
Joe
doing
is,
going now for a very long time.
Not that long, but yeah, it's been it'll be 4 years in March. So.
And how has your experience with it changed from year to year?
Well, dramatically, because I mean, from the very first one, it started with one show.
Alexa,
I was doing one show.
turn off.
I was doing one show a month, and then I got the bug to do more shows and do more interviews and things of that nature. And then from there, it kind of just was like, okay, so I've put my foot down into this hole. I'm gonna leap into this one, and so I just keep doing that and doing that more and more. And so yeah, so it's been an
A lot of trial and error, right?
What's
I
that?
mean, every time you've done a show, you've learned how better to do that show for the next season, or whether that show is worth doing or not.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I've learned a lot about analytics. I've learned a lot about broadcasting. I've learned a lot about interviewing. I watch as much as I do as well. So, it's all about doing that as well. I mean, that's part of the reason why I gravitated towards this show so tremendously, is it's been pretty, it's been a staple in my rotation since I heard about it for the first time. 3 years ago now, maybe 2 or 3 years ago that we've known each other. But yeah, so I, in a hole, Rebecca, that's where I put my foot. In a hole. Anyway. Oh. He wiped himself off.
Bye, Jay.
That's okay. He's
But I
doing
think,
that. I'm trying to get people to close a door here.
there he is.
All right, go ahead, Joe. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, you're good. I do think I've learned a lot, and it's been an experience. I'm not telling you what hole. You just have to use your imagination.
Oh, that's dangerous. Asking Jonesy to use her imagination. I don't know that that even I would do that.
For our audience who's listening on podcast, Joe is responding to some very interesting comments from Rebekah Jonesy.
Yeah. She asked me where I put my foot and then what hole I put it in.
Now, of the shows that you do, what is your absolute favorite one to produce each week?
Oh, that's like asking me what my favorite child is. I mean,
Do you have kids?
no, I don't. But I mean that's the same as it's the same idea, right? But I don't know. I like them. I like them for different. I like them all for different reasons. I think probably the one that I've enjoyed doing for as long as I've done it is This Week in Indies, but and I like that I changed it to live because that just made a world of difference for me. But yeah, I like them all for different reasons, and some of them I've loathed at times, and some of them I've downright just been like, why do I do this? And then some of them I'm like, this is why I do this. And it all depends on a lot of it's factoring, right? The guests you have, the topics you're talking about, all of that matters. So, that makes it.
Coming from a film background as you do, a lot of your shows are more highly produced. You go in and you do all the editing, you add a lot of like the effects and stuff. Do you enjoy doing those shows more than the live shows, or do you enjoy the simplicity of just the live show where you can kind of hands off and it is what it is?
I like the live show for that exact reason you just mentioned. I do enjoy, it's funny. I've said this before, but when I was a filmmaker, the thing I hated, the thing I disliked the most, the thing that really just drove me nuts was sitting in the editing room, watching them upload all of the footage that we caught, and then taking it and then rendering it and then cutting it and just doing the little slicing cuts that, taking off like a second of dead air or something to that effect, or you're messing around with the audio and all that stuff bored the hell out of me. I was so like, can we just get to like making this movie? I mean, and so I really loathed all that. But when I started doing it myself, I started to realize not only how important that was, but how much, I wouldn't say fun, but how exciting it was to do that, because then you kind of get this skill set that you'd never had before. And I think I'm a pretty good editor. So I've learned to do that pretty well. And so I've enjoyed that aspect of it. And it's going to be interesting to see me in an editing room when I do my next film, how I respond to watching somebody else do it, because now I know how to do it. I might be like, no, don't do that. Don't, So I might be even more annoying to my editor than I was before when I didn't know anything. So.
Yeah, see, I went to school for communications, radio and television production, so I have that long ago. But yeah, that okay, now you have to let somebody else do it. You're like, no,
yeah.
do this, do that, step back.
Yeah, I've been told to go on a walk, and if I go on a long walk for an hour and a half, that wouldn't be a bad thing. That's actually something that's been said to me in an editing room before. So yeah, I know exactly how that goes. So, but it's so tedious and so exact and meticulous, and it takes a lot to do all that. So
yes, it does.
That's one of the reasons we switched from being a more produced show to being a live show as well, because I don't have very good editing skills, and Jay was basically doing all of the editing after a while because I just couldn't do it. And our original show creator, he didn't have the time to do it either. And so it was just, if we want regularity and we want to get our shows done each week so that our audience, again, knows when to find us, it needed to be live. And the initial worry for us was that authors might be concerned with going live on air because they're already shy as it is.
Right.
But we really haven't found too much problem with it. The guests that come on, even the ones who are nervous, they loosen up during our green room time before the show starts. And usually when the little red button that says live goes off, they're still okay. and we haven't had too many issues with it.
It's part of the job, you know. Either
Yeah.
you're on live shows or you're live reading in front of people, which that part scares the crap out of me. I hate scripted stuff. You know, coming on and just being like, this is you know, I have yet to freeze, knock on wood, but I've frozen on camera before, so it's not fun.
I was concerned in doing a scheduled show live, especially at the time that I do it for my Sunday show. I was concerned about that, and there has been some pushback a little bit on that, and some people can't do it because of the time that I've chosen. But for the most part, I was surprised at how embracing people were about it. So yeah, it's been great for that. So, and then we're building audiences too. So audiences have come across and taken the time to be there. So that's pretty cool too. So, but I don't. People may ask me, and they've asked me this before, but how do I choose what time I go on? And it's not willy nilly. I've done my research, so
Right.
that's why. But
Yeah, I've noticed with your shows, you focus a lot on making sure that it can be available across the board. So you're looking at the Eastern time zone as well as the Pacific to try and balance your times, which for some of us in Pacific kind of sucks, 9 a.m. But for the most part, there are times when it's really widely accessible.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I know Jay's having technical difficulties, so.
Poor Jay.
I had everybody on mute for a while too because the people were coming in and out of the kitchen. So.
And there's the beauty of the live show too. You get to see everything, warts and all, and a lot of times that lets the personality of the person show through.
Yeah.
And even if they trip over their words, like I do all the time, it just becomes one of their funny little quirks. It's not a thing that's really embarrassing at that point. You're just kind of like, oh yeah, that's who they are.
I think I'm sorry, Jay.
No, I totally agree. And I get tongue-tied more often than not and forget words and like, oh my God, what was I saying? It's the age thing.
No. You have used so many words in all your books that sometimes it's hard to recall the right ones.
Thank you.
I think the biggest misconception about a live show, though, is that if you don't catch it live, you'll never. It's not worth it to catch it, and I think that's so wrong. Right. I stopped doing the event calendar thing because people kept commenting, "Oh, well, I'm busy during this time or during that time," and it's just like, well, you do know that it's on the internet, so you can watch it anytime. You don't have to be there live,
It's not like Saturday Night Live. Yeah,
and that's the thing. And a lot of us are people who listen to podcasts or who have something on while we're working. And these types of shows are excellent for it because you can be listening while you're working and still get all the information, still catch up on it. And for me, I love it when I can do a playlist and I can just have a bunch of shows on because I'll be sitting at the computer, either editing or writing or doing whatever. And I can have those running while I'm working and I can get through all of them and catch up.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, nobody who's here now leave and stay here and watch the rest of the show. And the cool thing is too is the interaction. So
and that is a fun element of being able to do not only the live show but doing on a streaming platform like we've got, because then the audience for our show, we've got Facebook and YouTube that can comment at the same time. I know for yours you've branched out to Twitch now too.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it creates a nice broad area for people to find you. Now, do you have any of your shows over just to audio only for podcasting?
I used to do that at the beginning of the first 2 years or so. I used to do that. And then, because I do so many shows, I don't know which ones would be audio, interesting, in audio format. So I just figure it's better if I was to do that, I would probably have to do them all, and I'm not sure that that's something I want to venture into. I mean, it's not that hard to put up an audio file and all that, but I do think a lot of people already, especially when they're on YouTube, do it as an audio file, right? They don't, I think I give you the visual element, but typically a lot of people are just listening. And I know that when I'm watching this show from time to time, that's what I'm doing. I'm just listening because I'm usually at work or doing something else. And so I'm listening to the conversation, and then I'll jump in the chat if I feel like there's something to say. But, I think for the most part, people already do that. So, I mean, if I was to do something like that, I would want to give extra content or something to that effect to make it worthwhile to actually have the audio version of it, because you already have like I said, you already have the audio version. You just have to, just let it play and you can just listen,
Jay is our master of audio over here. He usually takes our shows and downloads the audio and uploads it to our Podbean account. But the reason we continue doing both is I think the portability aspect of it. People do watch YouTube on their television or on their computer, and they do kind of have it on in the background. But with the podcast version, I think they can kind of take it with them, either easier on their phone or another device that they listen on. So adding that extra element gives us, what did Jay do here? There's another one. Hi, Jay. Adding that extra element just kind of gives us another way for people to easily find and listen to us.
Yeah, I've put out polls before and asked people if they're interested, and then they tell me they are, and then I did it when they did that one time, and nobody downloaded it or anything. So I was like, if you're telling me you wanted me to do this and then you're not going to follow through with it, then I'm not going to do it. It's time consuming, So, I mean, I would probably do it if a lot of people said, they'd like that. And like I said, I would probably do something where you give it a little bit of extra, but I mean, it's not a realm of possibility for me. So.
Well, and this show's been on the air for 4 or 5 years, something like that. The podcast not quite as long, but still quite a long time. And I think that on Podbean, which is what we use, that we've only got a couple subscribers, like maybe 5 or 6, and that doesn't mean more people aren't out there listening from time to time. But like when I had the Raven going, it was going for like 6 months, and it had 50 followers on it, and so I'm like, well, what the hell is the difference? I mean, why are some people subscribing here but not here? And it's a funny little game.
I think it's the same.
Subscribe versus just watching it. So I think it's maybe the mentality of that. It's like when you read, not leaving a review. So it's the same, I liked the book, but I never left a review. So I liked the show, but I never subscribed.
Yeah.
I also think that
one show I do think might translate well to, at least to the audio, is a brand new one. I don't know if you want to talk about this one or not, but you recently started something that I think is going to be very interesting for people to follow up on.
What is that?
Yes, late night news with Joey now, and I've partnered with somebody, and we're doing that the first Friday of every month now, and we'll see how that goes and expand beyond that. But I think for now we're pretty comfortable with just the first Friday of the month, and it's our news segments, and we talk strictly about what's going on in the indie world. So all the news articles that are fit in there. But I was going to say one thing about the audio thing, if I could, real quickly though, with the idea that me going to Twitch and me going to Facebook, this has been the grand debate amongst all of us for a long time, is which platform's the better one. But the thing you find is that there's some people like Facebook. There's some people who like Twitch. There's some people who like YouTube, and you're just not going to convince them to go somewhere else. So I think with the audio thing, that's the thing that's probably people know the show is on YouTube and they like the YouTube format, so they don't go to the audio format because they're here already on YouTube watching it. And like I said, oftentimes I know I'm one of them that I'm just listening. I'm not really paying attention to what's on the screen, even though that Jay usually makes it very entertaining when I do watch. But I do tend to listen more. So I think that's, why would I go back to, the audio version when I've already heard it, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, I really don't have good opportunities to watch shows. Because we're all in the house, and if we're watching something, we're usually watching something together as a family. I'm usually not just on my computer watching videos, but if it's audio, I can listen to it while I'm doing something else. If I'm cooking or if I'm working outside or whatever I'm doing. So for me, the audio is really nice, and I do like that. Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know. I think the key is getting on that person's list of the shows that they subscribe to. Like, because when I open up podcast on my phone, I'm never searching for something new, because if I'm opening that app, it's because I want to listen to something immediately. So it's whatever pops up as new episodes from the shows I subscribe to, that's when I'm going to click. So if you can get yourself into that subscribe list, you're going to get played. Going to get played, but otherwise it's pretty tough.
And we've said before too that, just like with social media, it becomes a full-time job to be as active as possible on all the different platforms you have to be active on in order to have that following grow. So, you pick your battles.
Yeah.
Where's going to be the most beneficial for you? Where are you most comfortable? And you focus on that.
Yeah, and there's also something to be said for spreading it too thin too, So, I mean, if you're doing all of this and you're kind of skewing your audience in respect because they're used to the way or that way. And so, like I said, if I was to do the audio thing, I think what would be beneficial for me in that format would be adding extra content that wasn't there in the video, and that's how I would probably get more audio people to be a part of it, so. Which is more work. So
more work, yes.
There's that word again. So going
already
forward, Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say already I've mystified people of how much work I do. So
Oh yeah. So going forward with the news show that you've started recently. Are you excited about this venture?
Yeah.
You said before that this is something that you've wanted to do for quite a while.
I am super excited about it. It is absolutely something I've wanted to do for forever, and I just needed the right partner, and I think I found her. And I think it is amazing. It was Katie can tell you, I was nervous. I haven't been nervous for a show in a very long time. I was very nervous on our first episode because I just wanted it to go so well, and I think it went pretty well. So I'm pretty happy, and I'm excited to see what we come up with and how we do this from this point forward. There's a lot of things. I mean, people are already contacting me saying, hey, can you share this? Can you do this with news and things of that nature? So that's pretty cool. That's kind of how I wanted it to go. So
that's good.
Yeah, it's going to be a good show. And in that vein, we said tonight was going to be our kind of year-end review. I've got a couple of news pieces that I want to share with you guys. And Joe, would you like to help me anchor this newscast?
Ooh.
Sure.
Getting the boss involved.
All right, we've got 4 different stories we're going to talk about real quick The first one is how Simon & Schuster is now up for sale and potentially going to be snapped up by Penguin Random House. Now, Joe, you mentioned that first in our newscast in the last episode. What can you tell us about it?
Well, so Penguin Random House is paying almost $2.25 billion to make this transfer over. They kind of got they've kind of got ire from obviously the other three publishers, and Authors Guild also is not very in favor of this. They've actually petitioned Congress to step in and make this a monopoly. They're afraid that the monopoly will happen, so that they will that Congress, something that Congress could do to step in, and so with this merger, Penguin Random House will control 70% of the fictional content on the retail marketplace. So Simon & Schuster represents some big heavy hitters like Stephen King, Hillary Clinton, a bunch of people that they've over the years acquired and are publishing on a regular basis. And so Random House, Simon & Schuster is also owned by Viacom. Viacom is the entity selling most of their shares, and they wanted to get out of this business because they feel like the business is not a model that they're into. They want to go into the more video, more streaming aspects of what their business model is becoming. So they feel like print is an adequated thing that is really coming full circle and not delivering as it should. And so Random House obviously has an interest in bringing, this conglomeration together. And, Authors Guild, they have till 2021. 2021 is when they're talking about in January of ratifying this deal. And so there's going to probably be some lawsuits filed at that point. There's going to be some blowback, and we'll see how Random House handles it. But I believe personally, from angling it from an indie perspective, this is awesome. This is the tigers eating their young, and the more that they fight amongst each other, it only helps us get into the forefront, because it's like sitting at a poker table and you're the guy who doesn't know you're the amateur at the table, and there's six other pros, and then watch they would form on you and take you out, like a school of sharks. They would take out the weak link, but then they start to realize that they want to be the top shark, and then they start hunting each other, and then the weak link kind of just swims on by and figures out that they can survive by turning them on each other. And so this is what's happening. They're turning on each other because the Authors Guild represents some indies. They're really about how much more their biggest stars can get. And so this has been a concern brought up by like a Stephen King or somebody who matters, that this is going to dilute their earning potential. So this is something that is very concerning to the other three, because if Random House has 70%, why wouldn't you go to Random House if you could? They're going to be a machine, and so I think all of the concern comes from that side of the world, the traditional world. And so I think that's going to be.
Authors Guild's response seems to kind of echo your sentiment there, because not only are they calling for this to not happen, one of the things they're saying is that by allowing Simon & Schuster to be picked up by Random House, they are going to reduce the ability for authors to spread their books out and find better deals. It's going to reduce the amount of advances, and we already know advances for traditional published authors have gone down in recent years. This is going to further reduce the amount of advances that they get. So it does look like a negative from the traditionally published author standpoint.
And how sad is it that they have no loyalty toward the idea that Simon & Schuster will become a 100-year-old company in less than 3 years from now? They've been around since 1924, and the idea that nobody gives a crap about that is just, it's wow. I was stunned by, there's just no loyalty. They will burn it down before they let anybody, make more money than them. And that's been heir apparent for a long time. I mean, look what they've tried to do with the ebook market. I mean, they've tried to kill it time and time again over the last 2 years. They refuse to embrace it. They've really tried to price it out and get it out of the way and make you go toward what makes them more money, which is ridiculous because they don't understand the ebook market if that's how they're thinking about it. So they are stubborn as they are smart. And they are smart and they are great at business sometimes, but sometimes they get in their own way. And I think this is one of those things that's going to get in a lot of people's way, and they're not going to know how to handle it.
All right. Well, we will follow this story as it comes into 2021, and we'll definitely be doing that on our late night news show next year. Let's move on to the next topic. And this one I know everyone should know a lot about. Audible Gate. So thanks in part to the wonderful pandemic shutting down a lot of the in-person sales, ebooks and audiobooks have risen this year. However, Audible, because of their business practices, got caught double dipping, and now they're being called out. So far, more than 12,000 authors have signed Authors Guild's petition, with more happening. And we are following this as it goes. No new news yet, but they made some very paltry concessions earlier that some authors took as a win, but really didn't do anything for us. And we were told to wait until after the holiday season before any changes were going to take effect on their returns policy, even if those changes really don't mean much. So there's a lot of big hitters playing in this field right now. We've got the Authors Guild, we've got Writers Beware, we've got the Alliance of Independent Authors. There's an international coalition of author guilds, which is the biggest we've ever seen, that are fighting against ACX, Audible, all of it's an Amazon company, to hopefully get them to change their distribution to make it more fair and to not double dip into authors and rights holders' royalties, because it's not just the authors, it's also the narrators for the authors who are in those royalty share contracts.
Yep. Yeah, it's expanding an industry too that I've been noticing a lot of people are getting into now, which is doing their own audiobooks. And I think that's the kind of thing that we were talking about on our show about this, is that there's a fear that, we're going to have 2010 all over again when we had the flood of ebooks where there was this kind of amateurish, flood, because people just figured they could be published authors and they just put it out there without editing it, without making a good cover. And that will be the interesting thing for me personally, is to see how these self-made audiobooks come out, and is there going to be a quality lost with that?
Good point.
Well, yeah, I think, they have quality standards, so, and they're pretty strict. I've gotten, my narrators have gotten things back from them that they had to go fix. But yeah, and I think it's better now than it was in the beginning, because in the beginning the quality was awful in some cases, and no matter how much I fought with Audible or ACX at the time that the audio was delivered to me, I was like, this is not, you're going to let this through? And they did. so now that wouldn't have passed muster. So, but yeah.
I also think the other interesting angle here is what are alternatives going to offer? Like the Findaway Voices and the bookshop.com and BookBub, and what are the alternatives going to present? Are they going to finally look at this as a chink in the armor of Amazon and go after them, or are they going to just let it simmer and do what they've always done, which is not rock the boat?
My thought is, because we have enough voices behind this, Amazon is going to be forced to make some concessions. Now, are they going to make all the concessions we want? Probably not. But they're going to be forced to change some of their policies, and that will be seen as a good thing. Mm-hmm. And in the wake of this happening, we should see some of those other companies come up a little bit more and start to refine their practices more so that they can become a bigger player. Yeah. But I don't think anything is going to take down Amazon. They are just too damn big. We just need to find alternatives, though, that can compete.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, you mentioned bookshops. So that brings us to our third story. With all of the bookstores shutting down, Bookshop was born in, I believe it was January of this year. And they are attempting to create a way to give back to the community a little bit by allowing them to create individual online bookshops, which some of the proceeds go back to them as a commission for the sales, kind of an affiliate sales model. And they're hoping to kind of take on Amazon, because everyone knows if you're looking for something, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Amazon. Oh, I'll just go find it on Amazon. Well, if they can get people to stop going directly to Amazon for these books and go there, they'll be able to support those indie bookshops, as well as get people to look to alternative ways of getting their books instead of just immediately going, I'll just go to Amazon.
Yeah. They've seen some success too. I mean, they've this was the story that started our 2020 off, and it was very much wait and see. A lot of the reaction was wait and see, and they've done a pretty good job. As this graphic shows, there's been an uptick, and they've done a great PR campaign that I think really helped them at the beginning, and of course, obviously, what has gone on in our world has helped them tremendously. So it'll be interesting to see once we get back to some kind of normal and people are shopping in bookstores again, and
right.
Because there's going to be a huge push in 2021 for the independent bookstore and to support your independent bookstore and your local library. We'll see how it affects Bookshop and how that moves forward for them.
Yeah, and despite the closure of most in-store shopping, book sales have not done bad. We've actually done really good. Print has been doing extremely well this year. People are finding that they love to read print books again. Not that they ever didn't like them, but ebooks kind of became the thing, and they kind of overtook the market for a while. But print books were doing really, really good this year. So a lot of people are still buying books. I know I've seen it float around Facebook from a few friends saying, well, do people even read anymore? Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
They're still buying and reading books. So while these are not official numbers, we're looking at a 6.4% rise in print book sales this year, which is excellent. Mm-hmm. Ebooks, audiobooks, they're going to be even better. So people are still reading. Thank goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the numbers speak for themselves in that respect, right? So.
Exactly. So for those who are watching, that's a little taste of what you can expect from our new late night news show, which will be once a month, the first Friday of every month. And I look forward to working with you on that, Joe.
Cool. I appreciate that.
We're going to have fun with it. Speaking of news, let's talk about 10 years of writing from our...
Yay, James!
Woo! And 2 books came out this week.
From our host, Jake Taylor. Oh my God, that is a crap ton of books.
Yeah.
Wow.
54.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
That's a lot of books. Great job.
Thank you.
And you still have a full-time job. How the heck do you manage it?
I write fast. I write as fast as I read. I don't know. I have to, so I don't kill people. I
like that. And it's, that's very true. The catharsis of getting your aggression out on killing your characters. Yes. I love it.
Yeah. And I did have 2 releases this week. One I moved up from next week. I got impatient.
I saw that. Your covers. Oh my goodness. Every time I see the covers of your books come out, I'm like, oh, these are pieces of art. This isn't just a book. This is a piece of art.
I have some phenomenal cover artists.
The covers that you selected for the books that you did with Katie are really phenomenal.
Yep, but our cover artist Julie Nichols, she's fabulous.
I was super impressed with those.
Yeah. And I'm waiting. I'm waiting because my next book is done. I'm just waiting for one more beta reader to get back to me. But I have to wait for a cover.
What? Wait a second. You have covers like in backlog, just waiting for titles.
Yeah. No. This one I've been waiting for, and it's a Jules and Darling cover, which they're doing in the beginning of January. So I will have that, and the pre-order will go up as soon as I get that.
Okay.
And my editor was sweet enough to be able to move me up a month, so it'll be out in February, not March.
Did you find a new editor? Because I know the editor we worked with closed up shop this year.
Yep. Yeah. That was sad. That was very sad. And I went back to Faith. Oh my God. You had to do this to me. Of Atwater Group. She actually lives in Connecticut. So where I used to live, I don't live there anymore.
I was going to say, so when you're unhappy with the edits, you can go knock down her door and say, "What do you mean by this?"
Yes. Yeah. And she worked for Novel Concept Publishing. She did some early stuff for us there as well. So
nice.
I'm like, okay, I'll go back to Faith. So,
when you lose your editor, that is the hardest thing.
Yep. Lindsay was my editor for years. And she did so many books, and I was just like so sad, but so happy for her because she, she went out and decided, writing is where she wanted to be, and she got a job as a librarian. I mean, the perfect job for a writer.
Yeah, that is kind of perfect.
So I'm like, okay, I can't fault you, but if you ever get back in the business, please look me up. But yeah, it's really tough when you lose those people that you've counted on, and they move on. But it's part of life.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Katie, show us that new book.
Oh, that's right. I finally got that one in, and I had to order a retail copy because my author copies won't be until January. But my brand new Write and Edit the Damn Book is now available. And apparently, if you order it through Amazon, it will get there in time for Christmas.
Yep. Yes, it will.
A great gift for all of your writer friends.
But yes, this book is chock full of secrets, tips, explanations, advice, you name it. I have packed 10 years of my writing knowledge and writing classes that I've taken and editor experience into this handy dandy book filled with tips, tricks, and quick and dirty secrets on how to overcome the problems that you may have with writing and get the damn book written.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you told us before we went live that you put everything into that book, and that you're even taking a little spritz of your body spray and squirting each one before they go out to customers.
Only for the signed copies. That's
All
right. That's for the authentic feel.
The
author does not sound like it would be a good fragrance.
It's a lot of sweat and blood, right?
Yeah.
Your tears.
Yeah. Yeah, mine would be very salty, a lot of tears.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, Joe, do you have anything to promote that's book related or just
I
show
do
related?
actually, yeah. If I may, we are starting our year end, wrapping up, and part of what we do with that is I collect my own personal top 5 for Go Indie Now. And tonight on Spilling Ink, I am going to unveil right now our number 5 pick for book of 2020. So yeah, my number 5 pick this year is Ed Souter's poetry collection. He actually released two editions to this. It's called Mirrors, and this is In Thine Own Heart. This is the volume 1 of that, and it's a beautifully. It's like a love letter to his wife, really, but it is a construction of the male ego and psyche, and there is such great emotional. I love books that connect with you emotionally and give you emotion that you normally don't get to see on the surface or, in a public setting. And Ed is so great at expressing himself in this book. It is so beautiful. And I think anybody who is trying to draw upon how they feel or what they're looking for will really appreciate this book, because this gives you a lot, and also it's just beautiful to see him give homage to somebody that he finds very important in his life, and somebody who also is an incredible author in her own right. But this is just it's so beautifully written. It's a very quick read. But with most poetry, like I find that why I love poetry so much is that you can keep going back to it and referring to it. And there's certain poems on certain times that you just need, like a good song. And I think poetry does that for me as well. And so I have referred to this book quite often during this, times that I've needed it in my life this year. And so Ed has been there for me with that, in that aspect. And I really appreciated that. So he is my number 5 pick for 2020. And I can confirm or deny that there might be somebody who is here right now that might also make my list. We will see who that person is and what book that might be. Yeah, so on next Wednesday, on Christmas Eve, Joe Gets Twitchy. I'm going to do my season finale, and I'll reveal number 4, number 3 pick, not only of books, but I will start on the movie side, and also my picks for albums of the year as well. So you'll get those all revealed on that show, and then on the following Sunday, on the 27th, we do our year-end review, where I'll have some guests who will also make their picks, and I'll reveal my second and first favorites of the year. And that's when you'll find out who on this panel I'm talking about, because I will go ahead and say they're one of my top choices.
Yay! Well, that's exciting, and great job, Ed Souter. Poetry is something that not everyone enjoys. But I really do enjoy reading well-written poetry.
And this is very prosy, so it flows very, very well. It's not a gimmicky poetry. It's not a hey, let's rhyme every other word poem kind of thing. It's just him spilling his guts, and it's so beautiful when you get that raw emotion, because if it's well written, you really, really feel it, and it's visually stimulating, and I think that's pretty amazing. That's an accomplishment.
Yeah,
I need to go read this now.
Yeah, I know. Do that.
For sure. And if you're in the mood for for more raw emotion, anyone out there who's listening about poetry, I believe it's Donald Hall. He was a MSU professor or something like that, but he wrote a book called Without, about his wife's last year of life, and
awesome.
it is gut-wrenchingly beautiful. Just absolutely astounding, though. So if you want some more feels, if you're into that kind of thing, that'd be another good one to read after you
Definitely
read
checking that out. I'm gonna go get that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good stuff. So, well, I think we're at the end of our show. Katie, didn't you have some business to attend to here?
We do need to pay homage, of course, to the always amazing, our second sponsor, Miss Rebekah Dirty Jonesy, and you will be entertained. And she does a live reading every Thursday on her Facebook page. And you really want to sit in on these. You really want to sit in on these readings, because she's not only a fabulous author, she's also a fabulous reader. So she really brings some life to the story. So you definitely want to check her out. And I
cool.
actually made it. I made it this week to the live reading.
Yeah.
I'm always late to those, or I watch them after the fact. I made it this week.
It's very cool to be reading a book while she's narrating it too, because she's narrating Moss and Clay right now, and I'm reading that as she's going. So it's kind of cool because I'm a terrible reader, so I can read a couple chapters ahead, knowing that she's going to do her narration on those chapters, and then I get a good idea of what I've just absorbed. So, which is always my problem, because I get caught up in things and I'll have to go back and reread them. So that's why I'm such a slow reader. But getting that right from the author and having her listening to how she enunciates or shows inflection here or there, that kind of gives me something that I do, that I need when I'm reading. And so Katie does that very well on her Sunday show as well. So.
No, we have a game. Count how many times I trip over my tongue while I'm reading. Because that's just what I do.
Yeah, you know how many takes it took us, or took me. My reading.
That was fun, though. Our joint reading was good. I really had fun with that.
One of these days, I'll release, when I do an intro to a show, I'll release the amount of every single take that I do to do the intro, because that's a show in itself, and I do quite a lot of takes. So, and
I'm sure.
It's just fair warning. You'll hear a lot of F bombs and shit.
The last reading I did, and it's been a little while. I actually recorded it out in the woods, which I thought was fitting because it was a story that took place in the woods. And by the time I got out there, and it was so far from the car that I had to go to the bathroom so freaking bad the whole time. And it's like, this is going to be one take. This is going to be one take, motherfucker. And then I'm out of here.
Awesome. Thank you for the happy birthday, AJ. I appreciate that.
Happy
Joe,
birthday.
just don't release the marketing stuff that I sent you, or not the marketing, the publishing stuff that I sent you, because I tried to do everything in one take.
I will not ever release anybody else's flubs. It'll only be me.
I think there's so many times where I'm like, Joe, please cut this. Don't forget to cut this, Joe. And then I just keep reading.
I would never do that to somebody. I would only do my own. Unless they ask me to do it, then, I might, because, I think those are always fun shows. The blooper show always gets the most views. So
Absolutely.
Those are worth it. I mean, those, even if you do put in some of mine, I would still probably crack up laughing. I love watching blooper shows.
Yeah.
Well, on that
all right.
note,
I think we're done. So again, happy birthday, Joe, the Godfather, the man who brings most all of us together in this indie community. We hope that 2021 will be an excellent year for you.
yes.
And that does it for Spilling Ink for the year. We are on our last show of 2020. We will be back in 2021 with more authors and more publishing professionals to introduce you guys to. Happy holidays, everybody.
Bye,
We'll see
everybody.
you next time.